The first thing that we got to think about is that things are going to be a little bit different when we're wearing some bulkier clothes. I'm not a guy that wears gloves a lot. I typically just put my hands in my pocket. If it's super cold out, I'm going to wear gloves, but very rarely is that something that I do. I have them with me all the time, but it's a pretty rare day that I'm wearing gloves.
You need a shot timer because that which gets measured gets worked on. The Range Tech Timer is the official timer of active self-protection because it is versatile, reliable, feature-rich, and very economical. Check out all it can do at the link below.
If you are a glove wearer, this is something that you need to spend some time on and make sure that you can get your finger into the trigger guard and out again safely and all of that kind of stuff. And holstering, that's a big challenge, something to think through here as you're going to the range when I give you the assignment here in a few minutes. But I'm just going to turn around, I'm going to draw a little bit here. This is a sweatshirt. I wear this all of the time. If you know me, you've probably seen me wearing this kind of thing. Now I'm tucking the back end up over my med kit just because I don't want it any tighter than it absolutely has to be, because I'm not wearing this on a daily basis. When I'm out and about town. This is sitting in my pickup in the back seat typically, but for today that's going to look a little bit different. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to draw and fire a couple with this one. So we're going to go back, we're going to go hot. All right, so we're clearing that. Now, as you can see, this one is a nice, I think this is a Columbia or something like that, but it's very stretchy, and stretchy is a good thing. Oh man, my belt came unloose. And stretchy really helps me get this thing cleared to where I want it to be cleared. But when it gets a little bit colder, I put on a vest. Now, from the vest just gives me a little bit, another layer and all of that kind of stuff, but with the vest open, it's the same thing to clear, so I don't have to deal with that at all. But when I zip this thing up, it's pretty tight on the bottom. It keeps the wind from coming in up underneath here, keeps me warm. This is what I wear on a typical day when I'm out and about town. If I'm running errands or whatever, this is what I'm gonna be wearing. And so the challenge that I've got now is I've got a much tighter bottom, I guess, to this thing. So I've got something different. I've got a different problem or a different challenge as I'm clearing my garment. So let's work on that just a little bit here, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like. So now as I go, I'm going to come in and I've got to get a hold of everything. I've got 3 layers on now, so I've got to get a hold of everything, and that's something that we're not always going to be able to do, and it's something that we don't work on enough. So think about that and work through that. But as I'm coming to here, this is so tight that I've really got to rip that thing up to get my hand on my gun. And I also have to consider that I can't get it as high as I'd really like it to. So when I break that wrist like so, it's going to clear the gun a little bit better for me. So if I'm doing my thing, and as I go to reholster that thing, I'm going to show you. I'm safe back here behind me, so I'm going to go ahead and holster facing the camera once. But I'm going to come back in now. I've got to really get that up, and you can see it bunches right here in this area. So now it's really much harder to see. So I've got to open my hand up, maybe even move my chin and my beard out of the way a little bit so that I can see that holster and get it back in carefully. Now, if I was wearing gloves, I wouldn't be able to feel that. So I've got a different tactile feeling now. Really got to think through that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do a couple more of these just to get a feel for it, because it's been a while since I've shot with this vest on. There we go. I hope that this is making some sense here. Now I'm going to move to one more jacket. When it's really cold out, what I wear is something different. So let's go try that. Okay, so this is, I think it's called Defense Mechanisms. Yep. I don't know. defensemechanisms.com is where I got this one. Paul Carlson turned me onto these guys. It's a very lightweight coat. There's almost nothing to it, but these are super warm. They break the wind. I can roll that thing up into just about nothing. So for packing it to go to a range where it's going to be cold is a piece of cake. This thing is deceptively warm. There's a couple of different versions. You can get it with a hood. You can get it with a air breathing area underneath the armpits and all that. But where I live, it's a little bit cold, so I like to be warm. I love the cold, but I like to be warm when I'm out in it. I don't want to be cold. So one thing that I really like about this is if I tuck it up and over this like I normally wear it, I've got a lot more space here. It's not really stretchy. I've got no strings hanging out of this kind of thing. So if you've got strings that hang down to tighten your stuff up, consider cutting those. I'm going to highly recommend that, because when we see people, those things get stuck into a holster, that's when guns go off and bad things happen. So I really try to avoid those at all costs if I can. But this one is a little bit different. This thing, it's a good warm coat. I've worn this in, you know, 3 degrees below zero kind of stuff, and it does the job. So I really like this thing. It's a whole lot easier to clear because I've got some space here. So going back into the holster is easier with something like that. That's really what it looks like. So folks, the challenge for this week, before, I don't want this thing to go on, and I don't want to bring the rest of my wardrobe out here, because I do have a big heavy coat that I wear when I'm hunting or when I'm out doing chores or whatever, that is a big Carhartt, you know, extra thick and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not going to bring the rest of my wardrobe out here. You've seen enough of my stuff, right? But my challenge to you and my assignment to you this week to suck a little bit less is get out your winter gear. You can do it dry in your basement or in your dry fire dojo to start, and just get a feel for what that looks like, and consider where the garment bunches up, where your coat bunches in front, so you can get back into that holster safely. Think about the strings that you've got down here. Consider getting rid of those. Highly recommend that. And then think about your gloves and all of that. Once you've done it dry a little bit and have had a good feel for it, then go to a range like this and work that you can draw, and work your draw and get a feel for that, and getting in and out of your holster with live fire and all that kind of stuff. Do it safely and have some fun with it. See you next week.